Well, my name is Jeff of all trades, not Jeff of all bourbons. And here's that 1% of the time reason why. We're going to review wine. Rodney Strong, Russian River Valley, Pinot Noir, 2023, Sonoma County. The reason I'm doing wine specifically is because this is an open bottle. Of course, from Thanksgiving, I'm pretty much at my table, pretty much the only bourbon drinker. Trying to get some others into it, but wine still is the predominant beverage at dinner and Thanksgiving. So this is a bottle actually that I got as a gift last Christmas from a business associate. I know Rodney Strong is a decent brand, and just to back up, I do know a thing or two about wine. Before I was ever into bourbon and whiskey, actually, I was into wine first. So, and I still like wine, but I just don't drink it that often because just bourbon and whiskey is just kind of blown through that for me. But I was younger. I was a member of the New York City Wine and Food Society. Went to meetings, went to functions. Was kind of rubbing elbows as a 25-year-old with some pretty big shots. That I thought I was like a big shot. I really wasn't, but in any event, it was very educational. I learned a lot from a lot of people who know a lot about wine. So my knowledge of wine certainly is not equal to what is bourbon, but I know some things. But in any event, this is a Pinot Noir in general is kind of like, it's up there with the types of reds I like. Cabernet Sauvignon is generally a kind of a heavier, bolder type red wine. Merlot, a little less so. And Pinot Noir is kind of like, I call it like a little bit of a lighter type of a red wine. It's one I really like as well. And again, not to the point of the boldness of a Cabernet. So in any event, this is a 2023 now. Why are we reviewing this right now with Thanksgiving yesterday? It's because wine, unlike bourbon and whiskey, does not, once the air hits it, the clock is ticking really fast. So I know this is actually a little bit better because of this. It's got a screw off. More and more good and better wines are having screw tops now. It used to be the old thing, if it's a screw top, it's terrible. Not the case. There's a lot of good wines that have screw tops now. In this case, it's probably better because it'll keep the wine fresh maybe a little bit longer. And by a little bit longer, maybe I mean like a day or so. But if the ones that have like cork tops, I do have like a wine stopper so I can kind of suction some of the air out. It's just, it doesn't really, you're talking about maybe making something stay good for another day or so. You open a bourbon and whiskey, it's good, for years, we're talking about days. So I figured let's just knock this one out right now, and we'll do a wine review. So I do know that from California, you have certain valleys and regions, and I know that the Russian River Valley, from what I know, is a little bit of a better area as far as what they the grapes they grow and the wine they produce. I had this before, so I'm just going to do this now in front of the camera. I had it at dinner. I taste it. I remember a lot of rich and dark fruit, and this also is aged in French oak barrels, so there is some overlap with bourbon. So let's. This is my Garden State Wine Growers glass from. I've done wine tastings. I do this. I haven't done it in a while, but I used to do this. I went to. They have these festivals at New Jersey and other places. So anyway, you could see the color. It's wine. So I'm going to give this a nose. I'm going to treat this similar to the process we do with bourbon. Very rich. Very rich. The rich grapes are coming right out of that. And with wine as with bourbon, you kind of swirl it a little bit to, get the aromas out of there. All right, let's give this a taste. Cheers. It's good. I said this to myself yesterday when I had it. It's very rich, dark fruit. Dark fruit seems to be the thing that's coming out of this. Then after I thought of my taste and I'd read about the French oak, they're saying vanilla and baking spice. I'm not really getting that. Those are more like bourbon type notes, but you do get dark fruit in some bourbons and whiskeys too. It's very, very rich, dark, heavy. There's nothing light about this. Not heavy in the texture, but it's just the flavor is very rich and dark. But I don't consider Pinot Noir like as heavy a wine as a Cabernet. So there is French oak aging in here, which is interesting. So that's supposed to impart some of the flavors. Again, I'm getting rich dark fruit. That's really what I'm getting at it. Cherry, plum, dark, maybe dark raspberry. So that's pretty much the deal. So you don't see me do many of these. I have the only wines I've really reviewed occasionally are bourbon barrel aged wines, because there are quite a few of those. This is not that, but I have done wines that are aged in in barrels that formerly aged bourbon, and you do get some influence. I do have one coming up on that one that's been sitting around a while, but I'll have that come up. So anyway, this was quick with wine. Back to bourbon and whiskey. Hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving. Cheers.